Gillespie and your host of Housing for All, a webinar series produced by the Dallas Housing Coalition. I also serve as Senior Manager of Community Development at Charles Schwab Bank and as a board member of the Dallas Housing Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. On each episode of the Housing for All webinar series, where we discuss whether Dallas is big and if it is big enough for everyone. By having impactful conversations with members of the Dallas Housing Coalition and other community leaders who are the city's strongest advocates for keeping the city affordable. Joining us this morning is Stephanie Champion. Stephanie obtained a JD in Public Interest Law and Policy from UCLA School of Law. She is an attorney with experience in community development law and serves as the Chief Development, Community Development, and Policy Officer at Builders of Hope Community Development Corporation. And in that role, she oversees all of the community development programs and initiatives of the organization, including its research. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Stephanie.
Thank you, Andrea. Happy to be here.
Yes, absolutely. It's great to have you here. And just to kick off the conversation, for those of our viewers who are less familiar with Builders of Hope CDC, I'm wondering if you can share a bit more about the organization's mission and give us an overview of the types of programs and services the organization provides to the communities it serves.
Absolutely. We are a multifaceted community development corporation based here in Dallas. And our mission is to build Dallas and surrounding communities by making investments in people and the places where they live. We do that by first and foremost constructing and preserving quality, affordable housing. Two, building and empowering communities. Three, cultivating public policy. And finally, four, creating pathways to economic opportunity. So we are about 25 years old now, started first as a housing initiative based that grew out of Voice of Hope Ministries, then became our own nonprofit in the late 90s, started building and preserving affordable housing, and then just recently, probably in the last 5 years or so, started branching out into more community development programs and public policy. I joined Builders of Hope in 2022, so just 2 years ago, to lead out our policy advocacy initiatives and run most of, not all, of our community development programs.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate just the multifaceted approach that Builders of Hope CDC takes to community development. And along those lines, I'm wondering if you can share a recent project or initiative of the organization that you're particularly proud of for maybe its impact that it's giving to the community and its alignment with the organization's mission.
Yeah, I would be happy to. We actually just launched this week a brand new initiative that we're really excited about, and that is our West Dallas Property Tax Assistance Program. This is a pilot program aimed to provide relief to long-term legacy residents in West Dallas who have been really struggling to keep up with the rising tax liability associated with increasing valuations resulting from gentrification and rapid development in this area. So, in Builders of Hope, we're a citywide CDC, actually countywide, but we were started and are based in West Dallas. So, a lot of our work we kind of launch and pilot here first. And we look at West Dallas as kind of ground zero for gentrification and displacement pressures across the city. And this is part of a larger initiative that we are taking citywide, which is our anti-displacement toolkit. So we're really looking at West Dallas as like I said, like this ground zero for the service provision, but also like as a case study of what might be possible across the city. So we just launched it, so can't talk yet about the impact, but we are certain it will be very impactful because we have done countless hours of outreach for our anti-displacement toolkit in our case study areas in West Dallas, in South Dallas, and in Victory Meadow. And for our homeowners in those areas, one of the number one things we hear is, can you help us with our property taxes? Like that is probably the top three concerns that we hear from our low income homeowners. So yeah, we're very excited to launch this program, and hopefully will be a model for programs across the city and in other areas as well. And we're excited to be able to do this with our partners, the Wesley Rankin Community Center, based in the heart of West Dallas, and our generous funders and supporters, including the Dallas Foundation, Trinity Park Conservancy, JP Morgan Chase, and the Lucraine Partners Fund at the Dallas Foundation.
Wow, what an incredible launch of such a needed resource. And, Dallas or D Magazine did a great article about this fund. And I have to say, it's really quite startling how drastically property taxes have gone up for homeowners in that part of the city. I, I it it was I don't know the word from it besides absolutely astounding.
It's wild. And, as someone who's lived here and been watching this issue for a while, it's like we knew this was coming, but I don't think anyone predicted the like the rate, like how fast it would happen. And yeah, it's really startling as you just said. One thing I will say is that just talking about the impact of that is that um, we are launching this property tax fund, but it's also one of many tools that we are implementing to help people reduce their property tax burdens for vulnerable homeowners. So the first thing we do is make sure folks are educated about what homestead exemptions they might qualify for and give them assistance in applying for those exemptions. Another thing we do is understanding the property tax the property appraisal, sorry, protest process, and helping folks protest their appraisals if they're coming in, they're far too high. The property tax relief is like the last step of that, right? Like, have we done everything that we can do to make sure folks are being taxed in an equitable way on their properties? If they still can't afford it, then let's see if we can provide them some monetary relief.
I love the approach. I love how there's a recognition, the effort of like a multi-pronged solution, not a silver bullet to fix everything, um, but many different approaches to get
Yeah.
at the same challenge. And I want to switch gears and kind of talk more about, and you alluded to this in your answer to my last question, but my next question is about the ways in which Builders of Hope CDC collaborates with other organizations or stakeholders in the community to maximize impact. And I'm assuming with just all the work you've done on getting that property tax relief fund off the ground, that required a huge amount of collaboration. So can you talk a little bit more about what it means to bring people together and
Yeah.
get their help in launching something like the new property tax relief?
Yeah. So collaboration is really key to everything that we do. And I think if you talk to anyone in our housing development team, they'll tell you how beneficial our partnership with Greenleaf Ventures has been in numerous projects that we've done together. On the community development side, we're deeply embedded in the neighborhoods we serve, and we partner closely with stakeholder groups and other nonprofit organizations in our service area. I mentioned Wesley Rankin Community Center in West Dallas. That's an anchor institution that's so key to a lot of the service provision in our communities here. And they've been here over 100 years in the city of Dallas, over 90 years in West Dallas specifically. And we work directly with neighborhood associations and coalitions in the areas we serve in crafting our development projects, in in designing our outreach initiatives. I mean, community is really at the heart of everything we do, and we want to make sure we are always accountable to the communities we serve. And that's part of also kind of like walking the walk. So we don't just talk the talk, we tell developers and anyone coming into our neighborhoods that, hey, you have to put the community first and
Mhm.
you have to have meaningful outreach and engagement and give folks a meaningful seat at the table in the development decisions that impact their neighborhoods. So we always do that first so we can show people what the model should look like.
Mhm.
But for our property tax initiative, like that you mentioned, that has been a huge lift for so many folks that have been involved. And it's really, well, it started in the community. The need came from what was voiced in the community, but the philanthropic community has also really stepped up to answer that call. And we're so grateful to just be like kind of like the vessel, I'm not sure what the word is, but to help make that connection, right? We're the connector, I guess. And so we're happy to serve that role.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like from your point of view, I mean, Builders of Hope, you welcome collaboration. It's not something that y'all are scared of or want away from or approach with kids' gloves. You welcome collaborators, um, and you work hard to figure out what does the collaboration mean, not only for the organizations involved, but really the community, which is the
Yeah.
most important thing. It sounds like.
I think for us, it's all about what's going to have the highest impact
Mhm.
for the folks that we serve. And we know that we play an important role, but we don't play all the roles. We can't. So how can we help bring other people to the table to be as collaborative and have the most impactful, um,
Mhm.
have the most meaningful impact, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something that I want to come back to, and that is the voice of the community. And I think most people say that that's a part of their work and try in good faith to make that a part of their work. And sometimes they fail and sometimes they succeed. Seems like, from what I know from Builders of Hope, that y'all do exceed in that category of making sure the community voices are heard and incorporated. And can you share a little bit about what that looks like from the outside? Y'all may have a meeting and it's filled with community members that are voicing, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that happen before you actually are in community with them at a meeting. So can you share a little bit about what that
Yes.
engagement looks like?
Yes. And I will say to answer part of your question or to comment on the question, we strive to get it right every time. We don't always get it right every time. And, there are times where we fail too, but I think the most important thing is that we are constantly striving to be better. We are constantly holding ourselves to that highest standard of being accountable to our community. And when the community calls us out, they will call us out and we'll have to course correct.
Mhm.
So I think that's just part of it. But I think what makes our approach successful is we have been in the community for so long. We were born from the community, and we've maintained that spirit throughout our tenure as an organization. And we're based in West Dallas, and actually four of our our six full-time staff members live in the community. So this is very personal to us as well. These are not just the neighbors that we serve, but these are our neighbors. These are the folks that we see every day in our neighborhoods. So we do take this work. We really take it to heart. Um, but so an example of how we do this is we often will, for our community development initiatives, we will create community task force or advisory bodies to make
Mhm.
sure that they are overseeing our work and kind of signing off on our strategy and our engagement strategy as we go. We do that for our West Dallas Community Vision Plan, which is really a community driven and community led process to inform development and investment in West and throughout 75212. And we have a resident-led task force for our first phase. No, we called there was a steering committee for phase one, and then a task force in phase two. And same with our anti-displacement toolkit. We created an advisory board to make sure that we always had that accountability. I don't know if I'm droning on too long, but I'll say one more thing. We also always believe in engaging those who are most impacted and those who are most vulnerable to an issue in the process. And that takes a lot of work to do. And so we know we have a strong social media presence. We have a really long email listserv. So every time we do a blast, it's going to a lot of folks, but it's going to the same folks. So to really reach those hard to reach community members and the voices who we want to uplift to have been disenfranchised in a way or left out of a lot of municipal decision-making processes. We have to make sure we're meeting people where they are. So we partner with groups like Somos Tejas. We partner with organizations like Rayo Planning, folks who are on the ground, who are able to go door to door, talk to people in their native language, ask them what they think, get their feedback, take surveys, and bring that back to our work. So we make sure that we're reaching people in multiple ways.
Thank you so much for that, Stephanie. I really just appreciate so much of what you said um, from your comments about how much of your staff lives in the community. I think that's so important. The concrete roles and bodies that community members can get involved in. And then just the transparency that you shared about, yes, we work hard in that area, but there are failures. And I think that's so important to hear too. And my first job out of school was actually as a community organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and did that for a couple of years. And sometimes failing can be succeeding, because if people come back or tell you that you failed in some way, there's a relationship you can still fall back on and reimagine. So thank you
Exactly.
for just all the great ways that y'all are in community.
I will
Literally,
say that's how trust is built too.
yes,
It's
yes,
it's that it's that accountability. It's when you fall short, are
yes,
you actively implementing the feedback you receive from community members to do better the next time? And that's what we always strive to do.
absolutely, absolutely. Great. I want to go to this topic of generational wealth. And at the top of our conversation, as you're walking us through the mission, the origin story, and some of the programs and areas that Builders of Hope works in, really sounded like generation wealth was interwoven through a lot of what you shared. And I was just wondering if you can share a little bit more about how the organization not only helps families achieve immediate stability if they're facing a crisis with a property tax bill or need a needed home repair, how you do that, but then also how you also help families achieve long-term security and independence.
Yeah. So building generational wealth is a key part of our homeownership model. Our homeowners, because of the subsidies we're able to secure to bring down our purchase price and make them affordable to working class families, our homeowners are walking into their homes on the very first day with an average about $75,000 in equity. And that's across our service area. So it's going to be much higher in some areas than others. For like in West Dallas, that's over $100,000 on day one that they're just building automatically because of the subsidies we're able to get on the back end and then the front end through down payment assistance and things like that. But yeah, that's for the few who are able to access our home ownership programs, right?
Yeah.
But we also make efforts to uplift, anyone who wants to take part in in our services in terms of getting ready for home ownership or just improving financial literacy skills and things like that. So we recently launched our Hope for Homeownership Center, which is led by our VP of Homeownership and Community, Ann Harrington. We have a HUD certified home buyer education course, which folks can sign up for. I believe that's once a month. They can sign up for that. We also do financial education seminars and we do one-on-one counseling as well. So for folks, whatever point you are in your home buying journey, or even if you don't believe homeownership is, in your immediate future, but you want it's in your far future or whatever kind of, financial education, financial planning you want to do, you can reach out to us and we can, get you set up with one of our services in that area.
Fantastic. That I can't think of a better example of cultivating or helping people cultivate generational wealth. Um, and as we start to round out our conversation, the last couple of webinars we've had, we've asked our guests about Forward Dallas, and just as a refresher for those of us who are with us today, that it is an effort of Dallas drafting its or revising, if updating, if you will, its comprehensive land use plan. And so a number of guests have been asking them about what outcomes they would like to see from the final plan and why they're hoping for those outcomes. So Stephanie, can you share, I know you're following this work closely. Can you share what you'd like to see in the final plan and why you would like to see those things?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say that I'm very supportive of Forward Dallas and the direction in which it is going. I think that the planning and urban design team has done a phenomenal job with community outreach and actively listening to community members and incorporating that feedback into every iteration of their plan. I believe Forward Dallas is moving our city forward. We have a very dark history, as many cities do, with regards to very, very discriminatory and racist policies that have crafted the city into what it is now. And we've often talked about this north-south divide and this racial divide in the city of Dallas. A lot of that is due to discriminatory housing and land use policies. So we have an opportunity now to remedy that and course correct. And I think Forward Dallas is an important step in doing that. I think there is another big step that we are not talking enough about, and that is how do we ensure housing affordability moving forward? So, one of the things I would really love to see is when we're talking about increased density, any increased density, whether that's gentle density, missing middle, or whether that's, multi-story, multifamily complexes, I want to make sure that we are including um, deed restricted affordable units in exchange for that density in any development. So um, looking at strengthening our multifamily density bonus program and creating a single family density bonus program as well, I think is going to be crucial to ensuring that when we're adding more units, we are making sure those units are affordable and actually helping to meet our affordable housing crisis, and not exacerbate it.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a clear vision for what you want to see in the final plan and why that's important to see for the city of Dallas's overall affordability in the future. And any final thoughts as we begin to um, round out our conversation that you want to leave with our viewers today about community development, home ownership, displacement,
Yeah.
housing affordability? It's all yours.
I would just say that if you're listening to this, I think you're probably already someone who's, you know, clued in and, paying attention to, housing issues in the city of Dallas. But if you're not, and you're interested, get involved. And there's so many ways to get involved. There's so many advocacy organizations that are really pushing for a more affordable city for all Dallas residents. But on the displacement issue, I would say this is an issue that doesn't just affect vulnerable residents in
Mhm.
these low income areas or in these rapidly changing areas, I'll say. It affects all of us as a city. And when we do nothing and we just let the status quo play out, or we let the market do its thing, um, this is what has caused us to lose some of our really treasured cultural enclaves in the past. We have seen the loss of neighborhoods like State Thomas, neighborhoods like Little Mexico. We've seen the complete transformation of Bishop Arts. We are seeing the loss of our culture in real time. And if you want to live in a culturally rich city, if you want to live in a diverse city, you have to get involved and you have to fight for these anti-displacement tools that we're crafting right now to make sure that we are living in a city that is culturally sustainable, diverse, and um, I lost the last word, but if I think all of that is worth fighting for, whether you personally are impacted by these issues or not.
Well, Stephanie, I can't think of a more powerful note to end on. So thank you for leaving us with those last very powerful thoughts about how these issues really do affect us all. And many thanks for joining us this morning and sharing your unique and impactful perspective on on what Builders of Hope is doing in the world of community development, and how and why affordable housing is such an important issue to your organization and the work that you do day in and day out. We do wish you and Builders of Hope CDC much success throughout 2024.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you. And to our viewers, before we sign out today, I want to make sure that you follow Dallas Housing Coalition on all its socials for updates on how you can get involved in the work of the coalition and stay connected to our Housing for All webinar series. While you're at it, make sure you go to the coalition's website at dallashousingcoalition.com to learn more about our member organizations like Builders of Hope CDC. And if you're on the website and not already a member, you can do so right from there. And finally, if you're interested in showing your support for Forward Dallas, I believe today might be the last day. So make sure you check out Dallas Housing Coalition social media posts for very clear suggestions and tips for how to show your support. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Housing for All, where we discuss whether Dallas is big and if it is truly big enough for everyone. Have a great